Timothy Carter, the man accused of stabbing to death 18-year-old Jason Jenkins at a Walmart Sunday, is scheduled to make his first court appearance Wednesday. He claims he was denied mental health treatment from 2 Rockford facilities. This incident sparks questions about the number of mental health resources available in local communities. 23 News reporter Sydney Stoffregan talks to area health facilities who say there is always a need for more help.
1 in 5 people live with mental illness across the country. Local mental health groups say the number of people seeking treatment is steadily rising.
Mental health impacts everyone.
And local health experts say it is a growing crisis everywhere. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI president Christina Valdez, says she sees more people diagnosed with mental illness seeking help. She says Winnebago County has great resources, but not every program is the right fit.
We begin by going through and assessing first if the person is a harm to themselves or others, and we escalate the situation based on those facts. It is ultimately up to the person with mental illness to reach out for the support.
The Ben Gordon Center in DeKalb offers 60 to 90-minute assessments with clinicians to determine a person's mental health status. Director Sabrina Nicholson says if they cannot treat that person's specific needs, they refer the patient to a more suitable program.
The worst case scenario is someone saying, I need help, and being turned away. And so we never want to do that, but unfortunately that does exist at times. So it's really about, if we have to turn away, what are we still giving them?
Valdez says more than 5,000 people receive help through the Winnebago County Mental Health Board tax, but she thinks adding more resources could help change the mental health stigma.
When they're properly treated, those occurrences can diminish if this is not typically a violent individual. Knowing that if untreated, that does not mean that all individuals who suffer from mental illness are dangerous.
Valdez shares the biggest gap in service is with men. 75% of them who are diagnosed with a mental illness are most likely to consider suicide.
Thank you, Sydney. If you or someone you know is living with mental illness, health experts say don't wait to seek help. In the event of an emergency, text or call the Crisis Lifeline at 988.